the 2022 edition of the Eurovision Song Contest
Boom,
takes
bang,
place.
bang.
You love it. Oh, my God, I love it so much. Takes place next week in Turin, Italy, because Italy won last year's competition. That's how it works. You win this year, you host it next year. The semifinals are on Tuesday and Thursday of next week, and the final is on Saturday, the 14th. Poland, by the way, is in the second semifinal. That's next Thursday, the 12th. We'll talk about Poland's entry in this year's competition in just a minute. But this year's contest is interesting only from the perspective of guessing how large Ukraine's margin of victory will be. Eurovision is rarely about the music, something we'll discuss in just a moment, but this year it seems it's not about the music at all. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves because our focus here specifically is Poland's history at Eurovision and a few words about some of the more interesting, colorful chapters of that history. Just a quick background here. Eurovision started in 1956, but Poland did not participate until 1994. Before this time, Eurovision was occasionally broadcast on TVP, so Poles could watch it, but for the first 38 years, they were not part of it. The reason that Poland did not participate was the same reason that many other European nations, especially in Eastern Europe, did not participate. They weren't members of something called the European Broadcasting Union, or the EBU. Now, Eurovision is the creation of the EBU, and only member countries can participate. And that's why you don't see, for example, Liechtenstein at the Eurovision, because they don't have a national broadcaster that is a member of the EBU. The EBU evolved out of a previous organization that was established way back in 1925 to resolve disputes over technical standards and organize signal wavelengths in Europe. After World War II, in the Cold War era, everything became politicized, and the EBU was afraid of admitting the Soviet Union as a member because they feared that the Soviets would instruct all their satellite states in Eastern Europe to vote with them and dominate in any dispute and eventually dominate the entire EBU. So membership was restricted to Western European countries.
That seems like very prejudiced and an unlikely scenario. I mean, given how well-behaved the Russians are in most other
That's true. There's such a model global citizen, yes. Yeah. At the end of communism here in Poland in 1989, 1990, a lot of things began to change, and one of them was an upgrade to the technical standards that was expected of members of the EBU, which Poland was finally able to meet. And so membership was finally extended to Poland in 1993, making Poland eligible for Eurovision the following year, 1994. And that debut appearance in 1994 is still, today, 28 years later, Poland's most successful entry. In their very first appearance in Eurovision, Poland came second, thanks to vocalist Edyta Górniak.
Really? Is she second? I thought she was.
I've actually heard of her.
Second place. Pretty good, huh?
The way they tout her here, I always assumed she won. Because she
was a bit, she's still active on the music scene for sure, but I remember in the late 90s,
also the World Cup.
She was a very big deal, yeah. Górniak's performance, in addition to earning a second place overall, generated a bit of controversy at the time because at that time in the mid-90s, Eurovision still had a rule that you had to sing in your native language. And in the second verse of her song, she switched to English, later explaining that it was easier on her damaged vocal cords. And now some of the other countries protested, but it was not enough to change the result. And so, again, Poland won second place overall at their Eurovision debut. It's been all downhill from there. Since 1994, Poland has only finished in the top 10 twice. One 7th place, one 8th place. Poland has failed to qualify for the finals 8 times, not including whatever happens next week in Italy. In 2000, TVP was not allowed to enter a contestant due to the extremely poor showing of the Polish entry the previous year. That was a rule they had then. If you finished below a certain, I think if you finished lower than 11th, you were not eligible for the following year. So pretty harsh, but it's been changed since then. But
because the UK would be like, hold on a minute.
They had standards back then. Poland was allowed back in the contest in 2001 and did even worse, leading to another ban in 2002. After coming second to last in the 2008 competition, TVP seriously considered ending Poland's participation in Eurovision altogether, blaming the unfairness of political and geographic voting, a common complaint among many participants. We'll talk about that in just a moment as well. In 2011 and 2012, Poland did not participate in Eurovision at all, and the contest was not broadcast here in Poland because TVP said their resources were stretched too thin because of their commitments to the Euro 2012 Championships, which is, of course, co-hosted here in Poland along with the Ukraine, and the 2012 Olympics in London. So we don't have enough money, so we're not going to join, and we're not going to broadcast it. Interesting. The typical Polish entry over the last 20 years, with just a couple of exceptions, has been a dreary ballad with a lame English title, like, and all these are real, by the way, Follow My Heart, For Life, I Don't Want to Leave, In the Name of Love, and Color of Your Life. Now, TVP has tried various methods to select the Polish entry into Eurovision, from public qualifying sessions to using game shows to pick the winner to internal juries that select performers, and a number of hybrid models combining these various methods. Nothing seems to work. And that brings us to this year. Poland's entry this year is Christian Achmann, who appears professionally as just Achmann. He was born in Massachusetts, in America. He's the second U.S.-born contestant to represent Poland, interestingly enough, following Isis Gee in 2008. This is weird. What? She's an American woman. She married a Polish pianist, thus somehow becoming eligible to represent the country in Eurovision. Remember, Celine Dion represented Switzerland, so, the rules are kind of flexible in Eurovision.
Because
very
she's
flexible,
a tax exile.
I guess. Achmann, he won, again, this year's representative or contestant for Poland. He won the Voice of Poland talent competition 2 years ago and will compete with his song, River, which is a dreary ballad in the best tradition of losing Polish Eurovision entries. If he gets through the semifinals to the finals next week, he will be the first Polish or Polish-American contestant since 2017. Poland failed to qualify 2018, 2019, and 2021. And, of course, there was no competition in 2020 because of the coronavirus epidemic.
What was that great Polish Eurovision song from maybe 10 years back with the busty milkmaids and everything?
Miss Wowiana.
Miss Wowiana.
Best music video ever. Yes.
Yeah. I can watch that over
that was very artistically.
Actually, anybody who's listening to us right now, screw our podcast. It's okay. Just YouTube right now. And
Miss Wowiana. Yeah. If you've seen it, you know it. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. Anyway, so here's the statistical summary of Poland in Eurovision, starting in 1994 up to last year's competition in 2021. 24 entries, 9 times failed to get past the semifinals, twice not allowed to participate because they did so badly the year before, twice TVP decided not to participate, and 1 cancellation because of coronavirus. 1 second-place finish, 2 other finishes in the top 10, and the rest just bad, including a second-to-last finish. But, Josh, at least they never finished dead last with 0 points like certain countries we could mention last year.
An accolade that any true Brit would wear with pride.
All right, let's talk about now. First of all, I joke about it from time to time. I make fun of it, but I really do sincerely love watching Eurovision. It's got
there's something wrong with you, John.
I guess so. There's
what are you, Australian?
There's the car crash element. There's the so bad it's good element, like watching really bad movies. The music is horrible. It's a stretch to call it music. It's awful. If you like the kind of so-called music that involves choreographed dancing, okay, you're in heaven. But otherwise, it's pathetic. Lip syncing and it's awful. But I want to go back, Josh. I mentioned the first Eurovision was 1956. You remember 1956? You were there. Do you remember at that time in the early years of Eurovision, was it taken more seriously as like a legit musical competition instead of the joke that it is today? Or has it always been on the fringes of Euro pop crap?
Well, I realize you're asking me slightly tongue-in-cheek, but also there seems to be something implicit in what you're saying that I should actually know. And of course, I don't really. I think my first memory of Eurovision would probably be around the time that someone like Lulu Mary Hopkin, those were the days, my friend, which was a Ukrainian folk song, actually.
Sounds like a tune, Ukrainian tune. Well, like 74 with Abba. Now, I don't know Abba's history well enough. Were they something before Eurovision, or did Eurovision
actually,
make them?
I think this is a very interesting thing, because generally, from a commercial standpoint, there's been very, very few people who've actually gone on to make a career subsequent to winning Eurovision. Okay, there's been people who've been already established, like Lulu or Cliff Richard, for example, in the UK, who have multiple attempts and on some occasions even won. But I mean, I can vividly remember that Eurovision year when ABBA won with Waterloo, because it was a really good song. Mm-hmm. I still think it's a really good. I think it's one of their better songs, and of course,
don't pay attention to the lyrics because they're completely insane.
Well, they are.
But it's a great tune.
They're up there with "Rah Rah Rasputin" by Boney M. I think.
Don't you dare criticize Boney M.
I'm not. I'm elevating.
Wait, when you say
elevating
career,
ABBA to the
when you say
standard.
career, I think it depends how you define career. ABBA and Celine Dion, legit global smash hits. You can't argue with that.
Celine Dion didn't become somebody as a consequence of winning Eurovision, did she?
Well, it's certainly, it contributed. It maybe accelerated her path. I mean, you can quibble over that, but you can't dispute that she's a megastar, right? After that, it's a huge drop-off. Now, you mentioned Cliff Richard. There are a handful of people. If you're from the UK, a Bucks Fizz is another one. If you're from the UK...
Well, they were manufactured for Eurovision and then had a subsequent career.
But, and like your Lulus and your Bucks Fizz and your Cliff Richard could tour the UK endlessly and make a very good living out of that. I don't think you could argue that they're a European star, certainly not a global star. But it's weird that in all these years, 50 whatever years of Eurovision, it hasn't produced 60 years of Eurovision, it hasn't produced more bona fide, legit, huge hit artists.
I'll be honest, when I first heard about Eurovision, I assumed it was stars from that given country, from that market, would show up at Eurovision. I didn't think it was amateurs most of the time. I thought it was like, somebody's popular in this given country, and part of their attempt to try to break out, they would go to that country would send them to Eurovision. So whoever was the pop hit in Poland or in France or whatever would go to Eurovision. No, but it turns out usually it's nobodies to begin with few exceptions. That for some reason they decide to let them represent our country. We don't even know who they are, but.
I mean, because I know this isn't the first time that we've browsed Eurovision history in KrakCast history, but did I mention that actually, I think it was 2016, 17, I was actually co-contributor for a putative entry for Poland for the Eurovision that
the
year.
early stages, the early...
Yeah. I mean, the domestic,
Were you produced something that somebody made?
I produced and played on it, and it was me and an Italian guy.
Well, where did it go?
Polish Eurovision.
Well, we didn't even make the sort of the
regionals. Yeah.
The regionals in... Well, no, it was like a domestic thing in Warsaw. There was going to be like 2 shows, when you're picking like the contestant, and there was like 12 on
Speaking
each.
of picking, I mentioned that various methods have been tried. Let's put it out to the public, let people vote. Let's put it on, make a game show format out of it. Let's have a jury picking behind closed doors. Which sounds kind of, like a secret cabal of, people fixing the thing. But in fact, with a competition like Eurovision, there really are boxes to check. If you have this look and this sound, you have a good shot of winning, basically. Mm-hmm. And I don't think necessarily there's anything wrong with just picking. You're just saying, look, we have a best chance of winning with this artist because this is how Eurovision is. This is what gets a response from the voters. Do you have a problem with the TVP saying we want to win so badly that we're going to skip the public because what do they know? And we're going to ask the specialist in, again, the look and the sound, what connects on a commercial level, and we're just going to let them tell us who to send.
I think that this is a very, very good point, and indeed kind of often a contentious one, because, I mean, as Britain famously knows, kind of, if you cast things open to the public vote, you end up with the nomination for some obscure Scottish fairy being called Boaty McBoatface, which I think is probably one of the most delicious examples of democracy in action.
That was actually supposed to be one of the mini subs or ships on the Arctic cruiser that what's it called? Attenborough was supposed to film the next series of Blue Planet on or something like that.
Yeah, but it does. It's
getting weird now, but
it has created the whole something face, which is like super nice. And
that's useful. What happens when you ask the public. But
yeah.
But again, if you wanted to maximize your chances to win a made-for-TV competition, doesn't it kind of make sense to ask the TV people what they think is going to work? I mean, I kind of sympathize.
Well, yeah, but John, I think admittedly, I'm probably not as avid a Eurovision watcher as you continue to be.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I'll admit that when there wasn't much else to do on a Saturday night because I was too young to drink, that Eurovision was a kind of evening entertainment. And of course, we had the unmatchable Terry Wogan hosting, who had this, silver Irish brogue and could, imply all sorts of.
Doesn't Graham Norton?
Well, I suppose he will be the natural successor. I have no idea.
Yeah, the host can make all. But TVP had a decent guy, Arthur Orjak or something like that. He was,
but anyway,
biting sarcasm.
To get to the point that I was very, very slowly getting towards making.
Okay, get to the point.
And that was that, especially me as a sort of, 14, 15-year-old, you weren't looking for the songs that had the sort of the really obvious sing-along no matter what your native language is, because it just goes like, like I said, boom, banger, bangers. That was actually a Eurovision winner in the late 60s, I think, for someone from some country. And, there was a kind of lowest common denominator, which, like catchy hook, something everyone could sing along with.
Formula, yeah.
Yeah. And so you would automatically mark those down because you're like, yeah, that song's just been submitted because it's got all the qualifications for being a shoe-in for the Eurovision. And so, and I think also with the judging and how this all goes, and you have these wonderful sort of oddities like that Finnish heavy metal band that
Lordy.
won. And then...
but they won. That was kind of a pushback, a protest from them, against these schmaltzy Europop crap songs.
I think it is exactly that, yeah.
Something so weird and off the wall that they won.
And again, actually, I'm briefly going to backtrack to Abba and Waterloo, because not only did it have a catchy chorus, but it was genuinely, by any metric, I think a very strong, very catchy, very memorable pop song. It actually is one of the few... Eurovision winners that I suspect is almost universally liked by fans.
My, at Waterloo, Napoleon did surrender. Oh, yeah, and I have met my destiny in quite a similar way. And I love those Achmann on the piano. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mike, what do you make of it? Used to be a rule. I wish they still had this. The rule that said you had to sing in your native language. Didn't that make everything much more interesting before everything became the standard English?
I think Hungary complained.
Please don't make us sing in this language. I like that. What do you think?
I think there's definitely something to be said for that.
See ya.
Or at least that half the lyrics or the verses are in their native language.
I like not being able to understand it, so you don't realize how stupid the lyrics are.
Exactly. There's part of it. And like I was saying earlier, I'm surprised that they have all these weird competitions to get these artists to choose which artist will be sent to Eurovision from a given country, instead of like just looking at that country's, top hits for the last 8 months and choosing from that who they're going to send to Eurovision.
Everybody sings in English now, and it's just the whole. It's just awful.
And actually, because you think, well, probably the reason why the UK gets kind of consistently low marks is because everyone else in Europe, and actually, of course, we say Eurovision. I mean, like Australia. I don't know what other countries.
I do not understand.
I mean, they're just like kind of like, okay, look, like we just like English is just bloody everywhere. So like, why?
On the topic, wait, Mike. On the topic of stupid lyrics, let's go back to Waterloo for a minute. Waterloo, I was defeated. You won the war. Waterloo.
It's a metaphor,
Promise to love you forevermore. Here's. It gets kind of rapey here. Listen to this. Listen to this. My. I tried to hold you back, but you were stronger. Oh yeah. And now it seems the only chance is giving up the fight. What?
All right.
Okay, that's weird.
It's something you want to party to at 2 a.m.
Yeah. How could I ever refuse? I feel like I win when I lose. I mean, come on. This is just horrible. I mean, better not to focus on the words is my point.
It was a different time, John. Don't judge the past by the standards of the present.
So,
that's what Chuck
Josh,
Connery
there
said.
are people who shall remain nameless who say that the whole competition was actually kind of better before the mid to late 90s, before all the countries of the former Yugoslavia and Soviet Union broke up and started voting for each other. It was a different competition because back then
the Balkan vote,
the UK and France and the Western countries had a chance to win it. The UK, I got news for you. The UK is never going to win this competition again, ever. Germany will never win it again, ever. All the countries that the people of the Bosnians of the world
all
go
the
to
countries
work
that
in.
won the last World War.
All the countries that go to work in will never win again. And you know, it's especially sad in the case of the UK because you and I were talking before we started recording. With the exception of America, I don't think any country has a bigger global footprint when it comes to influence on music, pop music, good music, whatever, than the UK. I mean, we're not going to, no serious person could suggest that the UK has no musical talent. That's ridiculous. And yet at Eurovision, it's the whipping boy that everybody loves to humiliate. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Though this is what I'm saying. I do not understand why countries don't send their hit makers to Eurovision. It'll be kind of like the U.S. With the NBA and the Dream Team to the Olympics.
It's all about amateurs.
Yeah, just
but
like,
Mike, let me bring this back to Poland, though. I'm going to generalize here. I'm going to say that maybe showmanship and writing and creating for the popular mainstream is not Poland's strong suit. And that could be a factor here in Poland's lack of success at Eurovision. What do you think?
Yeah, they definitely play it way too safe. Like, I don't know these Eurovision songs, but when I hear them, because they start playing them or they show up on the radio just before, it is usually the worst crap. It is just so mundane. It's more like a satirical, like parody version of a pop song ballad than a real song. And you're listening to this like, wait, people put money to this and actually want to perform it. It's Poland's only luck recent few years has been the youth version of Eurovision, and I don't understand why, because those are the exact same procedures applied to those songs. And for some reason, it's like it was 2 years running. Poland won.
That's right. With Vicky, what's her from here in Krakow? She has a Roma background. Vicky Gabor is her name.
Yeah, and there was another one that did very well as well.
And the Eurovision contestants, they tried. They're so earnest and serious, and you know the kind of song where they stare into the distance and talk about longing for lost love and all this crap. It just doesn't work.
For me, it's always it's either way too like vanilla and boring, or it's issue of the day, which they have to promote for some reason, you know. So there's always some. Well, if I mention it, everybody will say I'm a far right fascist, or whatever. But I'm pissed off that what was it, like 6 years ago, the Austrian guy with a beard won as a woman or something like that.
Conchita Wurst.
Yeah, it's Wurst. Exactly. I'm just like,
yeah. Josh is looking at me like, "What have you done with your life, John?"
No, right. I do remember. I think that the following year I was actually in Vienna, and there were, she did manage, whatever the preferred pronoun is, to maintain some kind of public profile, because there were pictures of her advertising some kind of product, and I was like, oh yeah.
Well, speaking of the issue of the day, circling back to Ukraine, this is all about Ukraine. I mean, I wonder if any country is going to dare to not give its full points to Ukraine. Remember, there's the judging system. There's the jury, and then there's a popular vote where people send their text messages. And
so you've done your research, John. So presumably you've already heard the Ukrainian entry.
You know what? I saw the name. I didn't listen to it carefully. I was listening to the Polish one. The Polish one is just. Maybe I'm out of step, because you read the comments on YouTube and it's just awesome, revelacja, great, awesome, amazing, and I just don't see it.
I am not a bot.
And the video itself is, again, it's called The River. And well, let me just bring it up real quick here. The video is of the guy Achmann. He's just like in this
awkward
room of a mansion with people with black scarves covering their faces, touching his shoulders. It's very weird. I'll play just a couple of seconds for copyright reasons, and then I'll read you some of the lyrics. Standard piano entry.
For a split second, I thought it was like they're going to, put some Chopin in there, but no.
No. Take my body. Okay, take your body down to the river and just shut up on your gonna take my body down to the river, right down to the river, gonna take my body down. Okay. Bury all of my things, bury me in my skin. I hope so. All that I've done, oh Lord, I'm done. Who'd want to be king, pulling too many strings? Ooh, getting some little hip-hop vibe there. All that I've done, oh Lord, I'm done. Ooh, 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 carry me away. I'll float away.
Yeah, that's solid gold, isn't it?
It's just like, like Michael was saying, it's derivative. It's just like this, it's, something different would be nice. But anyway,
his whining and moaning there kind of reminded me of what's that Irish guy with the Take Me to Church? Sam Smith, was that his name? Is his name?
The Irish?
Take me to church. Yeah.
I don't know.
My Lovely Horse. That was a great song that didn't quite make the cut for...
My Lovely Horse?
Yeah. You're not... Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Is there a catchy part to this song, though?
You're not up with your father Ted, are you?
No. No, I'm going to cut you off before you go too far down the father Ted. All right,
Believe me, I think two or three of our diehard listeners will be chuckling into their beer.
If we post this in the next couple of days, let's say by Friday this week. So again, next week, Tuesday and Thursday, the 10th and the 12th of the semifinals. Poland is on the 12th next Thursday. And then on Saturday, the 14th, the finals of Eurovision. Will Moldova give their points to Romania? Who knows? Nothing. Surprises everywhere. We'll see. But Ukraine's going to win in like a laughable blowout.
It's going to be that girl from the subway singing the folk song.
Why do you keep bringing up songs that you don't know what it is and nobody else knows what it is?
It was huge. Like, it went viral like 4 weeks ago. Like everything that's Ukrainian.
The girl singing in the subway that went viral.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? A little girl?
Yeah.
Okay, she's saying Frozen. The song from Frozen, Let It Go. And she's like 7 years old.
I don't think it was Frozen. It was something in Ukrainian.
Okay, they translate the movie into Ukrainian.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So you're talking about Let It Go in Ukrainian.
It would probably be a better...
Okay, first of all, the girl, 7 years old. Also, she was in a bomb shelter, Mike, not a subway.
Same difference.
Jesus. All right, on that weird note, we're going to bring things to a close. KrakCast.pl. Check out all of our back episodes. More than 400 episodes now. Thanks for listening. Let us know what you think about Eurovision. Fingers crossed for the Polish-American contestant. And we'll see you next time on the KrakCast.